So for example, this year our potatoes are very, very small. And people depend, that's a staple food. But that is also actually made worse by the fact that our winter months are the drought months. And our winter months are becoming longer. Our drought in the last winter, it was 7 months long.
Are these all changes you're noticing over the short term, have you noticed this quite recently?
Yeah, the glacier itself is literally, it's breaking off and coming down. I mean, you can, as a climber, you can see I've been in an avalanche, I've been in a rockfall, and this is all in places where it never used to happen before. This is happening right now, but it's not just happening to the mountaineers. I think we, as mountaineers, the mountains is what introduces Nepal to the world. People say, you're from the mountains. So that's why I think we can talk about it. But it's, in fact, not just the mountaineers that are being affected. It's the entire community that lives around the mountains. But it's not just the people that live in the mountains. Think about all the people that live further down. 10 of the biggest rivers in Asia start in the Himalayas. Yeah. You know, we talk about Indus, the Brahmaputra, the Ganges, the Mekong, the Yangtze, the Yellow River. You know, these are the biggest rivers that are in Asia, and they all start where? In the Himalayas.
How many people? I mean, it's
within those river basins, 1.3 billion people.
I mean, you're bringing some really key messages, obviously, to the conference. Yeah. How did your demonstration go this morning?
It was a success. It was cold. And we didn't expect, we didn't expect that many people, but 900 people showed up, even, in the freezing weather. I suppose you guys think this is like summer, I don't know, But,
no, it's cold.
I mean, we come from the mountains, so we're used to it as well, don't worry. Don't touch that point. But no, generally though, it was a fantastic event. We had a lot of support, and we had mountaineers from all over the world coming as well, and talking there and showing their solidarity. But we, just before coming to Copenhagen, myself and my friend Appa, he's not here with us tonight, but Appa has climbed Mount Everest 19 times. He's got the world record. So we traveled around Europe, and Appa himself was caught in one of these lake outbursts. He escaped with his wife. It was in the afternoon, so he heard it coming. So he escaped with his wife with one blanket. And as they went uphill, they saw all their fields and their house completely washed away, right in front of their eyes.
Awful. Yeah.
So we've been on the road for the last 3 weeks, and what we've noticed, especially in the Alpine countries, a lot of the problems that you see here in Europe, the Alpine countries, in Austria, in Chamonix, in France, for example, in Switzerland and so on, melting of the glaciers, the dwindling water supply, all this is also happening here.
But we're actually, I think the three of us here, a very good example and representation of what it is that is happening. Dawa, coming from the mountains and the effects that the climate change has on the whole mountain valleys, Ove representing the ocean and all the people that lives off the ocean also, me representing the urban regions. And I think we all agree on, and the scientific world agrees on, that climate change is due to human behavior. We're all working. People have lived in cities for thousands of years. People have lived off the oceans for thousands of years. People have lived around the mountains for thousands of years. And we're talking about adjusting a development that has been taking place over the last 60, 75 years. It's just a drop in the ocean. So what I'm often saying is that, like cities before in the Middle Ages, they built walls around themselves to protect themselves. Now we're facing something where we also have to protect ourselves. We don't build walls anymore. We actually have to break down some walls and create some new structures. And some of the structures are in the way we get our energy, because we need energy in the modern times, but we can try to work more with renewable energies. But we also have to change some structures up in our head. And we've done it before, we can do it again. And I think that's, I think we're actually summing up the story very well, and we could have all the heads of states just watching your program. and we could seal the deal in Copenhagen.
That's right, let's seal it now.
We've done it. So Dawa, water is a key thing in Nepal, as we've just discussed. Is hydropower, is using it for renewable energy a possibility?
Well, of course. Nepal itself, it has, the only real natural resource it has is water. After Brazil, it's got the highest potential for commercially usable hydropower. So it can produce electricity from water. But who's going to invest in a country where the future of the water is not secure? You know, hydropower, a dam, it's a long-term investment. You know, you're looking to get your money back in 20 or 30 years. So if we're saying that in 40 years, and ICIMOD is one of the research institutions, it says, according to current trends, in 40 years' time, all the glaciers will have disappeared in the Himalayas. So who's going to invest in a country like Nepal if the glaciers aren't going to be there? So you're going to have dry turbines. Yeah, that's not going to be very helpful. We're going to have like cows running the turbines.
Exactly.
You know, it's not going to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, it's definitely a huge barrier for development for our country.
What are your hopes for the next week? We're halfway through now. We've got a week left with the heads of state coming in. What do you hope is going to happen? And how do you think you can influence it, if at all? We'll start with you, Dawa. What do you think?
First of all, I think it's very important that they realize that mountains, the world leaders realize that mountains are vital. It's not just the Himalayas, but mountain ranges all over the world. But also, of course, the Himalayas itself, because we're talking about an environmental crisis, we're talking about a humanitarian crisis. Right now, trillions and trillions of dollars are being spent on national security, on the war on terrorism and so on. But, you know, in 40 years' time, or 20 years' time even, this is going to be a concern for national security. So if you can spend a fraction of those trillions of dollars now and solve these issues, then you should do it now. This is the time to act.
It's interesting because when the financial crisis really hit the world, I mean, like this, they could came out with the bank packages and everything. But I mean, this has been going on for years. I'm an optimistic person, but I must admit that I actually lack the transparency of it. I mean, I think it was a bit frustrating waiting almost for a week to get a draft text. I don't think the draft text that came out today is very interesting. I think there's a lot of clauses in it that is still to be elaborated on. And of course, the whole cities and local government angle is not there, which I think is also important. I hope a lot of environmental ministers are coming to Denmark today and tomorrow and are meeting up for the weekend. And I hope that they can work something out, because
I think that what the financial crisis has shown us is that they can work together.
Of course they can.
Absolutely, and it's only a couple of % of GDP to fix the problem. And I guess what I hope is that the huge moral, ethical, equity issues come to the fore and make sure that the talks are not distorted by special interest, which we've seen in the past. I mean, good decisions haven't been made because people have tried to protect industries which have to change. And I'm just hoping that we are, you know, that the world has changed. I was actually at the Hague COP6 meetings, and I was reflecting the other day that things are very different. At those meetings, I think it was literally, you know, card playing. Here we've got a lot more of the evidence and science. We've had dramatic changes, and there is no excuse for leaders to pretend that this isn't happening. It is happening, and it's happening quickly. And if we don't get on with the solutions, we are facing a very terrible future. And I hope that comes home to them, and I hope that we see, you know, honesty and transparency in getting these solutions.
And I think what one has to fear is that the Americans succeed too much in getting the text and agreement too short, because I mean, we need content in this, and we need something. It's not just a matter of signing it off. And we need something. I mean, that you can actually. I mean, we need to go on working. Maybe not on Saturday next week, but at least after Christmas we have to start the work again. So we have to have a good building block, and the Copenhagen Agreement for me is supposed to be that. So I mean, 2 pages is not enough. We need more.
Absolutely.
Thank you very, very much. I'd like to thank our guests for today: Klaus Bondam, Environmental Mayor for Copenhagen; Ove Hoegh-Guldberg, you're just trying to cause me trouble, aren't you? Coral Reef Scientist from the University of Queensland; and Dawa Sherpa, Mountaineer and Everest Summiteer from Nepal. There'll be plenty of on-demand content on the Inside COP15 video blog over the weekend, but we'll be back with a live show at the same time on Monday, so we'll see you then.